Good Sunday morning, neighbors. And speaking of concepts, today, measurement of change over time. This is a statement that's a concept. Measurement of change over time. So this was my Google. Now, just went into, I didn't think it would go here, but the top Google came back of measuring change over time, a systematic review of evaluative measures of cognitive functioning in traumatic brain injury. Frontiers. It's from a website, frontiersin.org. Measurement of change over time. I wasn't thinking about brain injuries particularly for that. That's not particularly where I've applied it. Measuring change over time, assessing the usefulness of evaluative instruments. That's a PubMed document. Change over time. Measuring change. You have to define what that change is. No. You're trying to measure what that change is, so you have to define what you're measuring and how long you're going to measure it for. So change over time. This is much more common occurrence than totally new things in time. The car was a totally new thing in time, the automobile. But the idea of getting on wheels and moving around was not a new idea. The automobile just was a progression, was a change over time, the combustion engine. And at that same time, electric motors were being considered and batteries were being used at that same time, long ago. It's history, change over time. So there's nothing new in these cars. These cars are adding on to what was there yesterday. And some of the new cars are taking electronics from somewhere else and adding them into tomorrow. Change over time. This is what evolution describes. This is what science supports, saying how we got here. We got here by a change over time, a very long time. So you've got to use the relevant time scale for the time you're working in. Measuring change, statistical analysis consulting, measuring change towards data science. So this is a data science thing, because in order to measure change, you have to have a reference from before and now. And that change might predict what tomorrow is going to bring us. Change over time and measuring it. So you know if the change was good or bad. We do this so finitely now. Good or bad. It's not a true or false statement. It's a fact. So understanding this change over time, understanding how deep time is, keeping a perspective on time. What year is it on Mars? So you have to understand what we've learned about these things, not take for granted. But it can be a casual understanding. It can be an acceptance that time is this long, flowing thing we all live with. Longitudinal studies and the measurement of change. Measurement and the study of change, ResearchGate. Let's see, related searches, measurement over time, statistical change, variable over time, ANOVA, I don't know what that is, time series analysis, statistical test for change. That's an interesting field. Measuring change over time, assessing the usefulness of evaluative instruments. You're an evaluative instrument. You're the end user of whatever instrument. If you look at your taxes last year and this year, did they change? Why did they? Do you even want to think about taxes? Change over time. Statistical tests for change. I spoke a bit to that. Measuring change over time, assessing the usefulness of evaluative instruments. Again, this was the foundation of my career, was the instruments in the labs before they go out to the field, before they get used. That sticker on there that says it was tested or calibrated or certified on a time and date, and the rules around how often that sticker has to be put on there. Measuring change over time. So we talk about qualitative and quantitative capabilities of the instrument all by itself. What is it measuring? How precisely can it measure? This is a whole field of engineering studies of precision requirements, like stabilizing a lab instrument over years of time, so you can prove the accuracy of the lab instrument. You may have years worth of supporting data to be able to make a claim on a legal document about the efficacy of your test results. Change over time. Qualitative and quantitative analysis. What is it? How much is it? But it's very soft. Change over time. The gray hairs, 64 years of them. More results. Measuring change over time, a systematic review of evaluative measurements of cognitive. We're going back into brain studies, human studies, change over time, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, some of those more subtle diseases, cancers, all of those subtle diseases. This is science. These are the rules of science that get propagated out into all the various fields of engineering, of chemistry, of biology, of molecular sciences, of all the rest you can sweat. The auto mechanic working on some of the most sophisticated electronics around these days is a result of science. It's not an output. It's not a forced thing. It can make things work better. It can direct the direction of change over time. Longitudinal studies in the measurement of change. There is a challenge with GPS references to sea level, because sea level is changing. What does that mean to the world's mapping system that's based upon a sea level number? How would you deal with that or compensate for that? How do you measure sea level rise to begin with? Change over time. Lean math, measurement, health status. After effects of a change in time series cross-validated. Change over time on Amazon. Install now. GPS area measure. Okay, that's a good change over time thing. One of the changes with GPS, if you investigate the chips inside your cell phone and you go back in time, the older chips only got one satellite set, which was a US designed and controlled series of GPS locations, GPS satellites that give you the locations. And they were unstable intentionally for targeting reasons, military security type of things. Those satellites could actually be shut off or give false readings to an enemy. That's how advanced and sophisticated GPS location was. Now you go look in the new cell phone chips, they're seeing 3 different GPS location providers. Because besides being a big moneymaker, in order to get precision from GPS, and you can to within fractions of an inch on hectares of farm, there's a monthly fee for that. So GPS, change over time. When you move, it takes time to move. GPS can show that change, the time, the location, the date, and whatever else you can reconcile against that. So the change over time, it's a mild concept. It's not even the gas prices change over time. But the need for oil hasn't. The use for oil hasn't. Much. Yes, it has. So, didn't make it easier. Have a good day. Peace is out.